This Soonerscoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. Don't miss a moment on or off the field. Make every day a highlight with LASIK at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIKs.
Hello and welcome to the Family Business. I'm Joe Castiglione Jr. alongside Isaac Stoops. We'd like to welcome in Andy Staples of On3, Andy and Ari, and just a great foodie in the industry. Andy, what's up?
What's up? Well, I have nothing on your dad. I've taken many lessons from him. So
he's a man of many talents, and eating is one of them. Clearly, I mean, in diners as well. But I'm sure you guys coerce in that a lot as well. And he's got a few meals planned this week. We'll see how it lays out in Knoxville.
I sent him a whole, like, when I found out Oklahoma was going to the SEC, the first thing I did wasn't go live or write a story. It was text your dad the best breakfast place in every SEC town. So,
well, you don't have to rush it when it's a night game in Knoxville this week. So I'm sure he's going to have the full menu at that point. I will say.
Oh yeah, no, I'm thinking Scrambled Jake's is probably the play. That place is unreal. Great cinnamon rolls, huge omelets. I mean, it's right up his alley. So yeah, we that one, Knoxville is a very good food town. I lived there for 2 years. I covered Tennessee. My first job out of college was covering Tennessee for the Chattanooga Times Free Press. So it was good back then, but what they've done in their downtown and the stuff they've done to revitalize it, like for the Sooners who are going on the trip, and I know you guys went not long ago. I think it was 2015. Shoot, that was
10 years ago.
Man,
10 years. I know.
I'm old.
Doesn't feel like that.
It is, but it is a great visiting team town. Like, there's so much to do depending on where you stay, and it's going to be fun. And especially in a dark mode game. I covered one of those when they played Kentucky 3 years ago, and they get after it. I mean, Neyland Stadium's always rocking, but especially for those dark mode games, which is funny because back when I covered the team, which was 2002, if they made any little slight tweak to the uniform, everybody freaked out. Now it's like, oh, it's the black uniforms, let's go.
Well, that's what happens when you're winning, right? Because I think they might have had a different opinion on that a few years ago. But if you're winning, it doesn't matter.
Here's all.
Oh, yes, it does. And speaking of winning, I wanted to ask you, there's been a few firings. I'm going to ask you, how much would you pay for a Cane's box combo to help with Brian Kelly's buyout?
I imagine a lot of Raising Cane's revenue is going toward that buyout.
They're going to ask you a quick question. They're going to slide the iPad around, and they're going to say, hey, would you like to round up for BK's buyout? I'll have it BK's way.
My son is a huge Caniac combo fan, and I'm a little worried about how much we may be donating.
Just know it's going to be rounded up to $20 each time, and the portions are going down.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Well, also just so much fun. It's so fun topic. We got to ask, Oklahoma comes off a loss against Ole Miss, struggled in kind of ways that we've seen before, in undisciplined penalties and untimely fumbles. And we're all asking the same question. Is stuff like that a direct reflection of their head coach?
I don't know if it's necessarily a direct reflection of the head coach, because it's not something that has plagued them necessarily throughout the Brent Venables era. Like, if you look at the Billy Napier era at Florida, where they had just continued, like, kept making the same kind of mistakes, like not putting enough people on the field or putting too many people on the field. It just kept happening over and over and over again. Now, you guys know it better than me, but I'm pretty sure that hasn't been a huge problem throughout the Venables era.
To an extent, but I would like to add an asterisk, not to bring up sour grapes as well, but I mean, last year with Jackson Arnold and that offense, which is kind of its own chapter.
Yeah,
I
don't really say much
about
that one because top 5 receivers get hurt, which is just weird. And then the offensive line stuff, thoroughly covered. Mistakes were made. Mm-hmm. Offensive line is not something you fix overnight. So it was one of those things going into the season, they knew the mistakes had been made. They knew there was not much that could be done about it, and it was what it was. But yeah, I don't know that the discipline is the part I worry about. What I worry about more is this defense actually as good as we thought it was? Because I was at the Auburn game, and I came out of that thinking, oh my God, this front seven gets after you so hard. I don't know how many quarterbacks are going to survive this. And then I was at the Texas game too. And even though the Texas offensive line is not very good, Arch did manage to make something, or he would escape and then turn a negative play into a neutral play, or he'd move around and find something. And then you saw him against Ole Miss, which is a highly competent offense. And they didn't look great. And the thing is, they're about to play another highly competent offense with a gunslinger-type quarterback with far better receivers than I envisioned for this Tennessee team. When Chris Brazzell transferred from Tulane last year, we thought, okay, he's going to break out. He's going to be awesome. And he didn't really do much last year. And then Mikey Matthews was a 5-star recruit, but didn't have a huge freshman year. Those guys look amazing now. And I think that's the biggest difference. Like if you'd asked me to handicap this game before the season, I'd be like, how's Tennessee going to score? Now I'm very confident in them scoring. I'm less confident in them defending than I would have been at the beginning of the season. So I can see this being a more high-scoring game, but kind of similar to what last week was, because Ole Miss's defense has its holes, but can come up big every once in a while.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, though, because Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss, well-known last weekend, was able to escape and make plays, and a lot of positive plays, and scramble and push the ball downfield. I think Tennessee's receivers a little bit better top to bottom, and Joey Aguilar might have a stronger arm, but he is a little bit more pocket. He'll stay in the pocket a little bit more, and so maybe that lends a little bit more to Oklahoma's D-line being able to get after him. And Ole Miss did such a good job. I mean, a Lane Kiffin masterclass, and I think all the fan bases from now LSU and Florida, they saw that game and they're like, that's our guy we want. But I just wonder if Joey Aguilar being a little bit less of a mobile quarterback can kind of lend a little bit more for disruption.
A little. He's not a statue back there. And the one thing, what he does, and I'll go back to that Auburn game, like Jackson Arnold is, as you guys know, does not get the ball out that quickly. Joey gets the ball out. And that maybe is in that offense the most important thing. And you guys know that offense really well. It's the one Jeff Lebby ran at Oklahoma. It's amazing to me, as someone who covered those Baylor teams when Art Briles was the coach, they wouldn't tell anybody about that offense. That thing was locked up tight. It was the biggest secret in the game. And then when Briles got fired and everybody had to go get jobs, they started telling people how it worked. And like Heupel went and learned it. And Lebby, of course, already knew it. He's Art Briles' son-in-law, and he would take it to places and show people how to run it. And now it's all over the country. Like, it used to be the biggest secret in the world. It was like Baylor, and then Tulsa ran it because Philip Montgomery was there, and then Syracuse ran it because Dino Babers was there. And now it's been interesting watching the evolution of it. It's sort of like when Lincoln was at Oklahoma, and he took the air raid, but he's running counter constantly in the air raid, and it was devastating. It killed opposing defenses. Watching what Tennessee's done in the run game with that offense, which was a very basic run game. It was a box count run inside zone. And then if you hit a big pass play, you're going tempo, you're running inside zone, taking 6 free yards before the defense can line up. It's much more complex now. Like what Heupel did, and I think what happened is he goes from UCF to Tennessee and realizes, oh man, I got some athletes on the offensive line here. I can do something different with this. And I think their interior run game has become a big, just a more sophisticated part of the offense than it was back when that offense was created. Which, by the way, though, even in the original version of that offense, when they had it rolling, they didn't throw for 300 yards on you. They ran for 300 yards on you.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, yeah. I mean, I was going to ask because you mentioned the receivers, being a lot better than people thought they were after, a lot of guys leaving last year. How do you think OU's secondary holds up against these dynamic receivers? And do you think it mostly relies on the D-line stopping their QB from extending plays like last week?
I think it's a lot to that, Isaac. I think if the guys are getting home, they're like, if R. Mason Thomas is in Aguilar's face, those receivers are gonna have a problem there because it's the timing of those things are gonna get messed up. And Oklahoma's athletic enough in the secondary to cover one-on-one. And I think that with this offense, the more you can do that, the better off you are, because it allows you to move your safeties around and do some things and disguise some things. Because the problem is, if you don't have corners who can cover one-on-one against this offense, you pretty much declare yourself by what you're doing by where your safeties line up. And they're going to make run pass decisions based on that, and it becomes very easy. And so I think Oklahoma's athletic enough that they're not going to be able to make those decisions. But you nailed it right there, Isaac, when you said if Joey Aguilar can extend plays, that's the problem. Because covering those guys who are, they're bigger, they're rangy, you don't want to cover them too long. And so if they can get Aguilar either on the ground or just make him get the ball out of his hands, that's going to help a lot.
Yeah, I got you.
It's a lot on the line in terms of the playoffs picture for both teams, head coaching picture, maybe for Oklahoma. And I wanted to play one of your clips from the Andy and Ari show this past weekend about Oklahoma.
It's the University of Oklahoma. You're supposed to win every game. You don't get a break. You don't get excuses. You're supposed to have a good offensive line. You're supposed to have a good quarterback. And you're supposed to have a good defense. It's the University of freaking Oklahoma. The second you start saying stuff like that is when you accept the loser mentality of programs that do not expect championships. It is the University of Oklahoma.
Get this guy a chef's hat. Let him cook.
Sorry, you're supposed to win. You're supposed to be good. You're supposed to compete for championships. You can't make excuses. So the excuse that set me off was a commenter, because we do those, that's a live show that we do after the games, and a commenter said they had 2 true freshmen starting the offensive line. And my thing is, so? It's Oklahoma. You're supposed to have good offensive linemen, and whether they're freshmen or not is irrelevant. If you're bad, if you think it's bad that you have 2 true freshmen starting, that's the fault of Brent Venables and Bill Bedenbaugh. You should have had somebody older ready, but I will say Michael Fasusi's pretty freaking awesome, so I would be starting him.
I think Foj might be pretty good too, but I'd also counter with that too is offensive line is probably earlier in the year you could argue a little bit, but offensive line was probably not top 5 reasons OU lost to Ole Miss Saturday. You could argue. I'm just saying you argue.
Possible.
But also we're talking about the defense here. And my question is, we can talk about defense all we want. If they're not going to score any points, is it even going to matter how good this defense is?
No, and that's the problem. And their inability to really get a run game going, and it's interesting because it's kind of skewed because they had the big run against Ole Miss where Ole Miss had a bust, but over the weeks, just an inability to really develop a run game. And it felt, even early in the season, it felt like anytime that they really needed yards on the ground, Mateer was the guy who got them. And so, yeah, I don't know why they haven't been able to develop a back that they feel comfortable with, or it doesn't feel like they ride the hot hand sometimes when they have somebody running well. So, and I've never that's one thing I'd love to sit down an offensive coordinator in an off season and just have them explain, because that happens so often. And I think a lot of it is you're cycling in personnel packages, you're cycling in, you're trying to get in different formations, and so there are times when you'd want to have somebody in the field, but you have so limited time to get into the formation, to do the motions, to run the play, and sometimes you're trying to run tempo, that you may not always have the back you want in. But that's not necessarily an excuse, because also when you run tempo, you can kind of freeze the personnel on the field. So if you've got a guy who's running well, you just tempo him, and that person's going to stay on the field.
Do you think if Oklahoma's offense doesn't look good on Saturday, against this Tennessee defense that has, struggled as of late, does that just mean Oklahoma's offense just isn't as good as we thought they were?
I think that's what it would mean, because when Tennessee's played a good offense, the offenses have moved the ball. I mean, you look at what Georgia did to them, you look at what Alabama did to them. They have been susceptible to being able to drive the field on them. And so I don't think, it's interesting because I thought this defense was going to be kind of like the one last year, but Tennessee's defense last year pretty much carried the team. Mm-hmm. It was Tennessee's defense and Dylan Sampson, basically. This is very different. This offense has been very dynamic, and the defense has been okay, but it hasn't really been a huge strength.
Try telling that to somebody last year about January. You'd say, hey, Tennessee is going to have a way better offense, and their quarterback's not going to be Nico. Yeah. I mean, try telling somebody that too.
Listen, so we put out a quarterback ranking, which I will probably shouldn't even bring up because the top 4 spots on mine are the worst possible choices. Like you can imagine who they were. And they've been bad this year.
Lagway, Manning, with Sellers in there too as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I had Mateer number 4, I think.
Was
so I feel good about that.
Was Drew Aller in there as well too?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay. We won't bring it up though. That's
but so I didn't have Nico in it, and the Tennessee fans were furious. This was a Wednesday. On Friday, he skips practice and he's off to UCLA, and they're like, "Good for you, you're a ball knower." I'm like, "You guys didn't say that 2 days ago."
Yeah. I remember they went after Pete Nakos, but that's neither here nor there.
That's bitch Nakos to you.
Yeah, exactly. One of the all-time tweets. I did want to ask real fast about John Mateer because he was in that quarterback ranking as well. I mean, he's clearly not the same guy that we saw early in the year. What do you see in this guy now? Post injury, John Mateer.
It does seem like he's throwing the ball up for grabs a little more in the Texas game than in the Ole Miss game. But I do wonder how much the thumb affects him still, because obviously the Texas game. Probably he came back too early. But I do wonder if it's that or if it's the competition level has just gone up. Because like Auburn was a really good defense, but we don't know how good Michigan's defense was. And I think Oklahoma actually probably lucked out playing Michigan week 2, because I think the version of Michigan you're going to see in a couple of weeks, and as Underwood evolves a little more, they seem to be getting better offensively, but their defense is not what we were used to when Michigan was winning the national championship a couple of years ago.
This coaching carousel as of the last couple weeks has just been insane with all the firings at big schools. Nowadays, would you say that the donors have more power and say than ever?
I think they've always had a lot of power. I think this particular case is a really weird year where everybody held off last year. Everybody who thought about firing their coach held off because revenue share was coming. They didn't know how much money they were going to need to set aside. They didn't know how that was going to work. So they didn't want to commit to having to pay a buyout, not knowing how budgeting was going to work in the rev share era. Now they know, and everybody's freaking out all at once. And it's almost like a snowball effect. Like, I feel like once Penn State fired James Franklin, everybody starts thinking, well, if they'll fire him, why are we standing pat? Why are we hopeless? Why don't we go get a new coach? And it's crazy because, guys, shout out to Kent State, who elevated Mark Carney from the interim. So there's now only 11 openings. But it's possible you get 10 more power conference openings. There's 11 FBS openings now. But I'm just talking in the power conferences alone, there's a possibility of 10 more openings this year. And that's not retirements or somebody goes to the NFL.
And then Penn State might be actually the one that I'm going to question at the end, depending on who they hire, of maybe they should have stood pat, with James Franklin, especially you got 2 of their top candidates, and Signetti and now Rule today getting his extension kind of off the board. And so you already have that pool. And I'm not going to go as far and say that, hey, this candidate pool, there's not enough talent, because you can always find talent for a head coach. Just depends where you look. But at the same time, you got so many head jobs, you're not going to get maybe your first or second choice if your name's not LSU or Florida or Penn State. Yeah,
it's very interesting. So Penn State is on the level of LSU and Florida, but the one thing that makes this a tougher situation for them is you got to be better than James Franklin was, or you failed. Like, the Florida coach only has to be better than Billy Napier was. And Billy Napier was under 500 in 4 years. James Franklin was 30, I want to say he was 34-8 his last 3 full seasons. Yeah. 34-6. It's crazy. So I don't know what they're going to do. The only comparison I can make in recent memory is when Georgia fired Mark Richt. Because Mark Richt won a bunch of games, recruited well, but never could quite get over the hump. And so they fire him, and they bring in Kirby Smart. And obviously that was the right move. But is there a Kirby Smart? Like, if you're Penn State, you have to find your version of Kirby Smart. And I'm not sure that person's out there, but I will point out, and this is something that, a lot of people notice, but the ADs don't seem to pay attention to. who are the best coaches working right now? Kirby Smart, who was a coordinator when he got hired. Dan Lanning, who was a coordinator when he got hired. Ryan Day, who was a coordinator when he got hired. Marcus Freeman, who was a coordinator when he got hired. Isaac Stoops' dad was a coordinator when he got hired.
Yeah,
You seen a
Boy, I live in Gainesville, and boy, people were sad.
I
when
was
your
gonna
dad
say, are you in
took
witness?
that job.
Are you in witness protection right now for saying LSU is the better job than Florida?
They listen. Yeah, they get mad at me.
Yeah,
On the surface, like there's the occasional dirty look in the grocery store, but deep down in their hearts, they know.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like 3 of the last 4 coaches won national titles there, and I don't know that you would consider Les Miles or Ed Orgeron all-time great coaches. So, like that's the thing. Like Florida has 3 national titles, but it's 2 Hall of Fame coaches produced them all. And actually, I will argue that. So, Isaac, you may not know this. I was a walk-on on the '96 Florida team, so that was your dad's first year as the DC.
didn't know
So I
that.
played scout team offense and got yelled at by your dad all the time. Remember, Florida staff had 2 Hall of Fame coaches on it.
Yeah.
Steve Spurrier and Bob Stoops.
Yep.
So it's pretty crazy. All right, well, quick Isaac's dad's story that I've told. I have told it to your dad when I interviewed him when I was working for Sports Illustrated, and he enjoyed it. We're playing LSU, and for whatever reason, they had decided I was going to play Alan Faneca that week. On the scout team.
Similar player.
For those who don't know who Alan Faneca is, he played guard at LSU. He then played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a Hall of Fame lineman in the NFL. He's one of the greatest guards to ever play the game. He is quite possibly the freakiest athlete to ever play guard. And the things he could do were just not human. Like one of the things that LSU would have him do is he would pull from the backside and hit the play side linebacker on a sweep. So I'm playing left guard, sweep is going right. The Sam linebacker is lined up over here closer to the running back than I am, and I'm supposed to run out, beat the running back, and hit this linebacker who's really fast, who's Mike Peterson, who played 11 years in the NFL. So I have messed this play up 5 times in a row. Your dad has gone mayday, mayday, mayday 5 times in a row.
Oh God.
He finally comes to me. He goes, since you are so slow, we're going to put you in a sprinter stance behind the line of scrimmage. And we're going to see if you can actually run this play for us. And I'm sitting there like, not saying a word. Because I believe I just turned 18 at the time. Like I was 17 for the first month or so of that season. And all I wanted to say to him was, Coach, if I could do this, I would not be here on scout team with you. I would be on that field with the starting offense.
Oh man, I'm accustomed to that coach's ass chewing or lack of patience at times. So I get where you're coming from.
I can't even imagine getting that at home. Although I will say your dad was the greatest at. He was good at chewing your ass when it needed to be chewed, but you could tell. Even though I wasn't in a position group that worked with him, like he would praise them when they needed to be praised, and like he would always come in, like I had the worst. I was a freshman walk on, had the worst workout times, so I had like the 5:45 a.m. lift. We know about that. And he'd come in through the weight room and like dap us up, and like a lot of the other assistants weren't doing that, and like you knew he was destined for huge things, but at the time, it's just like, oh, this guy he knows his shit. And so it was fun to be kind of there for that, to see 36-year-old Bob Stoops learning.
He'd treat everybody the same. He'll chew you out, but then he'll go chew out, the star player on the team.
And that was the best part. Yeah. And he would praise both equally too. Yeah. And I just appreciated that, because that's how you know a coach actually cares. Mm-hmm. Like the ones who just yell at you, they don't really care. And so you knew, like I said, you knew he was in for big things. And I learned so much more later, talking to people in the business and people who worked with him and people who worked with Coach Spurrier and people who worked with Coach Snyder. Like, because what your dad did was he married the work ethic of the Bill Snyder program with the dynamics, the family dynamics, and the more casualness of the Steve Spurrier program. and created kind of the perfect mix of it. Like I remember when Lincoln Riley got the job, and I'd met Lincoln Riley at East Carolina, and he'd worked for Mike Leach and he'd worked for Ruffin McNeil, and he got to Oklahoma and he's working for your dad, and he's like, I didn't know coaching could be like this. I actually get to see my wife. I was like, pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if we could have a documentary of when Lincoln came in 2015, because they were going through, quick backstory, but they're going through renovations of the football facility. So we were in the old dorm, makeshift into meeting rooms and coach's office and the trailers. And so everybody was close together. GAs were about 10 feet from the head coach's office. I was walking through Mike Stoops' office every day. And so like me and him, best buds, not sarcastic at all. I love Mike. And so, but if we could have that, I mean, it was just a lot of fun. There was a reason that 2015 was a team that had the ability to bounce back from 2014.
No doubt. Hey, before I wanted to ask, so I saw an interesting stat. It's on Twitter. That's where I get a lot of my news. So Oklahoma hasn't scored 27 points in a game. Tennessee hasn't
in conference.
In conference, right? And then Tennessee hasn't held an opponent to 31. So do you think either of those streaks gets broken this week?
Ooh, that is a really good question. I think Oklahoma is going to score more than 27.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's going to win the game.
Yeah.
That's the part I'm scared about.
Yeah.
That's what we did. I saw your pick. I saw your pick on the show. I watch your show. I'm a loyal subscriber. I'll start commenting on Saturday, so you can start chewing me out as well. But I might agree with you. So, Andy, you're the man. We really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
For everybody watching, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. That helps us help you, and we'll catch you next week with another edition of The Family Business. Remember to keep in the family.